Tomb Raider is an action-adventure movie starring Alicia Vikander that is based off of the Tomb Raider video game series. Now, I think we can all agree, when it comes to movie adaptations of video games, well, they're usually really fucking terrible. I mean, this is something Hollywood has been trying for years and years and years now. You would think that by now they would finally figure out what works or what doesn't work, or more than likely they would have realized that this is something they should just stop trying at. But no, they really feel this is something that can become a great success, so now Tomb Raider is getting a new adaptation. Because I do remember Angelina Jolie starring in like older Tomb Raider movies, but this is like a new attempt at it. So let's see how this one does. Well, first of all, getting to one of the things that I did like about this movie, I did like Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft. You know, she's strong, she's stubborn, she's trying to make a living for herself. All the while, all these investors and business partners of her father, who was a brilliant and very successful researcher who's been gone for a very long time, he's presumed dead, they are trying to get Lara to sign her father's will so she can get her inheritance. But what I like seeing is Lara Croft, she doesn't want to do that immediately. She can't help but think that her father, somehow, some way, is still alive. And eventually she runs across an old videotape of her father explaining to her what he did, some research he came across, and some of that research included him stumbling upon the urban legend of this old queen of this island who apparently had the power to control life and death. She's beginning to think that maybe where her father is, she discovers it somewhere in the Devil's Sea, so she flies to Hong Kong to recruit this sailor named Lu Ren to bring her to that island. Now, getting into one of the things that I didn't really like about this movie, I wasn't a big fan of the character Lu Ren, simply because he was a completely wasted character. His sole purpose in this movie is to allow Lara to board his boat so he can bring her to that island. That's literally it. I mean, he's in a few other scenes throughout the movie. He's there, but he doesn't really do anything else. If his character was taken out of the movie entirely and they just did something like make Lara capable of driving or piloting a boat herself, the movie would be no different. Eventually, Lara does wind up on this island, but she's captured by this group named Trinity, who's also looking for the urban legend that is this dead queen, so they can harness her power, which is apparently going to have really bad consequences for the entire world. I get into the leader of Trinity because he's supposed to be the main villain of this movie. I didn't really like him as a villain. I mean, that's nothing against the actor who played him. The actor does a fine job. He does what he needs to do. It was more the character himself. I mean, he wasn't a very interesting or menacing villain. I mean, this is a movie based off of a video game, so you know a villain's going to be in there somewhere. But throughout the movie, whenever I saw him on the screen, I'm just like, oh yeah, you're the villain, and you need to be stopped, but I mean, I don't really necessarily hate you. I'm also not really intrigued by you. You're just whatever, dude. Eventually, Lara is able to escape Trinity, and then she's able to find her father, who is indeed alive. He's been hiding out on this island because he's been trying to get the research that Trinity stole from him. He's trying to get that back from them because he knows he can't let them find the power of this queen. So after that, Lara and her father, they go back to face Trinity again to get that research back. And here was something else that movie did that I wasn't really a fan of. Earlier in this movie, after Lara had escaped from Trinity, we got that really cool, you know, chase scene between her and Trinity. I will definitely say this, that scene in the trailer that you saw of her, like, you know, clinging to the plane that's going over a waterfall, that scene was intense, that was exciting, that was awesome. But what happened shortly after that scene, Lara was confronted by a Trinity soldier and she had to kill him to survive, and, you know, after she killed him, she was, you know, crying, she was broken down, she was shocked because, you know, she just killed a human being. But it's at this point in the movie when Lara and her father go back to face Trinity again, she's armed with a bow and arrow and she's just killing a bunch of soldiers one by one, and, you know, clearly she doesn't give a shit. It's like, really? Is it now just easy for you? Like, do you not care that you're taking human lives? Like, are you just whatever with it now? I mean, she went from never killing a human being in her life, being appalled, being scared, being freaked out that she did that, to, you know, being really good at it and not caring about doing it. That for me is a sign of not very well done character development. And eventually the leader of Trinity recaptures Lara's father, threatens to kill him if, you know, Lara doesn't open the gate to the tomb so they can, you know, finally figure out the queen's burial. Eventually they have to go into the tomb so they can all live, so they can get off the fucking island. And here's where the movie showed some of its video game isms. Throughout the rest of the movie, you see a lot of moments that were clearly made more for a video game, not necessarily for a movie. There's one moment they kind of have to figure out this puzzle on this door in order to open the door. All the meanwhile, this floor is basically closing on them. It's falling apart on them. Eventually, they're all gonna fall to their deaths if they can't figure it out. I mean, eventually, Lara is able to figure it out, but the whole time I'm watching this, I'm just like, This is so clearly out of a video game because it is perfectly designed to be a level or a challenge that you have to overcome to move forward in a video game. I've played enough video games in my life to know how they work, and that's definitely one of those moments. And then they do come across the corpse of the queen, and they discover that her power is apparently a really potent disease, that if someone even touches her, they turn into like this angry zombie flesh-eating creature, and then they die. And then the leader decides to take a little fragment of the queen's dead body and still use it for his intentions, which at this point, you still don't really understand why he wanted to. I mean, it's like clearly at this moment you see that this is a disease that could literally wipe out humanity if it indeed spreaded. And, you know, the leader's just like, nah, this could help us. I'm gonna take it. It didn't really make sense. That was the point. You never really truly understood what is Trinity's motive here. Is it just to destroy the world? I'm not gonna understand it with a big, like, you know, super villain and like a comic book movie or something like that if they want to destroy the world. But for a human character, I just don't know why you would do that. I mean, you kind of need to live on the world in order to live, so yeah. Eventually, Lara's father, he gets infected with the disease, but he agrees to stay behind, you know, blow up the temple so the disease won't spread. So Lara goes after the villain of Trinity to take him out. And eventually, she is able to beat him. You know, he falls to his death, and, you know, he takes the, you know, fragment of the queen's body with him, so that's not going to spread. And, you know, another video game ism is, you know, with the tomb falling apart, Lara has to, you know, jump from basically 20 feet from one ledge to the other ledge to get out of the temple. You know, with one big run and jump and, you know, using this little, I don't know, claw sword thing, she like clinches onto the other ledge and she pulls herself up. I was watching, I'm just like, okay, humans only jump that high if one, they have superpowers, or two, it's in a video game. And then eventually Lara and Lu Ren, because he's still in this movie, you know, and some of the other, you know, sailors that wash up on shore that Trinity was using as slaves, they all get choppered off the island. They go back to the main world. And Lara, knowing her father is officially dead, she signs over the will, but she discovers that the people who were working for her father were also a part of Trinity, and that's why they wanted her to sign over the inheritance to give them essentially full control over his research. So with that, Lara now knows that Trinity is truly a global, you know, threat, that they're going to try to just do anything they can to accomplish what they want. And Lara's like, alright, the only one who can stop them is me. So I'm going to go out there, I'm going to arm myself with a bunch of weaponry, and I'm gonna go take them all out one by one. It was one of those moments where the movie is clearly setting up for a franchise, for a sequel, and I'm just like, oh boy, you could not have been more obvious with that. This movie must be really riding on if it's gonna be A, successful, and people are gonna love it. Oh boy. So all in all, I know it sounds like I really shit on this movie, but I will say Tomb Raider was a fine movie. I did like Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft. I was able to at least somewhat get behind, you know, the relationship she was able to rebuild with her father since her father was gone for so long. Some of the action that does happen in this movie is fun, is entertaining. Like I said, there's some in particular that were really intense. But like I said, Lu Ren, completely wasted character in this movie. The leader of Trinity, didn't really care for him as a villain. I didn't like how the character development in this movie was really handled. I wasn't a big fan of a lot of the video game isms that were clearly in this movie. Like I said, there are definitely a few moments that, although they were entertaining, they were good for the movie progressing, there's still a few moments that you can't help but sit there and say, that's clearly straight out of a video game. I just can't buy that in a movie. In the end, however, I will say, although Tomb Raider is still not necessarily where we want video game movies to be, this was at least a step in the right direction. I will give it that. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.